people will pretend so they can get what they want. You are now dating potential, and potential is a problem. We don't date potential. I don't want to know who you potentially are going to be in a relationship with me 20. I want to know who you are now.
Welcome back to the Let's Add Value podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ron Dunham, and you see my other host, Mr. Marcus Lennon. And today's conversation is one I know will resonate with everyone who's ever dated, wondering if you ever asked the right question or you struggle to understand the person you're across the table with. So whether you're single, you're in a long-term relationship, or somewhere between, the question you ask can make or break the connection. So on today's episode, we have Ms. Rhonda Green, who's an author, real estate agent, mentor, domestic violence survivor advocate, and creator of the tools like 40 Questions Before First Date and 7 Ways to Free Your Mind After Abuse. Ms. Rhonda has helped countless people break the cycles of pain, date with a purpose, and build healthy relationships by knowing what to ask and when. Today, we unpack how to ask the right questions that can deepen connections, reveal compatibility, and protect your heart. Ms. Rhonda, thank you for being here with us today. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So what inspired you to get into this field?
My life. I really needed to find a way to help others navigate relationships. As a young woman, I think in my teens, I made a lot of mistakes. And we all have those moments where we're like, if I can go back and do it over again, knowing what I know now, there's absolutely no reason why someone can't share their wisdom, their knowledge, their experiences, what they learned, what they would do differently with other people so that those individuals don't have to say to themselves, I wish I knew then what I know now. We've got lots of information to help us. We've got these books to be a resource so that people can hopefully use the knowledge and apply it to their own lives and make better decisions.
That's real impactful. You know, I love the fact that this is personal and this is experience driven because I hear a lot of people just talk about things. And when you start to really get into like the substance of things, then people don't really have a real response behind it. But I could tell that the passion's behind it because, like you said, this is personal. You know what I'm saying? This is my own experience. This is my life. And I love the fact that you turn this situation into helping others. So in your journey so far of being an author and inspiring others, what would be a highlight so far that you can say that, you know, this is something that makes me really feel good about what I'm doing because I saw a difference being made?
The highlight is always when someone comes back to me and says, hey, I read your book and it was really impactful. It made a difference in my dating. It made a difference in my relationship with Jesus Christ. It made a difference in how I interact with my own relationships with my family and friends and spouse. So every time someone, whether they tell that to me personally or they go out and put a comment on Google review, wherever they make that note, I'm always proud that, hey, I made an impact and that's my legacy because whatever I said to them, it's in them now. You can't take away what you read in a book. It's in your brain someplace. So it's going to help you. When people acknowledge that and let me know, then my job was done.
So I have to give a personal testimony. So I recommended Miss Rhonda's book to one of my clients, right? And she came back to me and she said, Marcus, I read the book and I'm in it right now. And she was like, I'm learning a lot. This is really good. I was so excited that I texted Miss Rhonda and I said, Miss Rhonda, somebody has it and they're in it right now. They're on the journey. And the thing about it for me is they always talk about your test becoming your testimony, and your book has inspired and helped people. And I could say personally, as I recommended it, I received the feedback within, like I said, 3 or 4 days of after the recommendation. So I was like, this is on point in this movement. So thank you for doing what you do, because that is strictly a blessing for, not just for you, but for others as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing it. And I think that client of yours was reading 40 Questions Before First Date, which is like a workbook. So there's lines in the book that they can reflect and put their own spin on with their digestion from their reading it. But I appreciate you sharing it, and I'm so happy that it's helping that individual.
That's good.
So tell us along the line of your journey in life and whatnot, what is One of the biggest mistakes that you've made that you felt like in the dating world that you wished you had learned earlier or just knew about or somebody gave you some insight before going on the date?
I think there are 2 things that I would say were big mistakes. 1, choosing the wrong person, and 2, not choosing myself. A lot of times we get in relationships and we're looking at the physical appearance, we're looking at the fact that everybody else around you is in a relationship, especially when you're in your 20s and 30s. You want to be where everybody else is. You want to have love in your life. And I wish that I learned stop trying to create the path for yourself instead of creating the path that gets you to where you want to be tomorrow. I wish that I had lived for my older self instead of living for everybody else. I was choosing relationships over things that really mattered long term. All of those relationships ended. Even when I was engaged, those relationships ended because I kept choosing other people's happiness over my own. And that was the biggest thing that if I had just chosen myself first, I would have not made many of the bad choices when it came to the relationships. A lot of times we say, well, he's going to change or she's going to change. They're just going through something right now. I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to be with them. I'm going to be that supportive person that they're dating, not knowing it's to your detriment. Everything that I went through was definitely a life lesson. Sometimes I went through them twice, had to repeat it to really get the lesson. But again, that's so somebody else doesn't have to make those mistakes. And choosing yourself is always the thing that you have to remember to do because a lot of times in this world, no matter how good a person may be, they may not be good for you. And when you're choosing someone who's guiding you, they may be taking you through the wrong path. I have another book called How Much Is Your Dirt Worth? And in that book, I give an analogy of someone getting in the car. Because back in the day, people used to hitchhike. We don't do that now. I think it might be illegal, but people
Uber.
would yeah, we got Uber now. This is before Uber. I'm aging myself. This is when we only had the yellow taxis. But people used to hitchhike and you get in a vehicle with someone, you're only going to go to where they are headed. So whatever their destination is, that's where you're headed. And if you're trying to go north and they are driving south, there's absolutely no way in the world you're going to end up to where you need to be. So your purpose in life is going to be thrown off track because you're in the wrong vehicle, riding with the wrong person. You're in the passenger seat when you should be in the driver's seat of your own life.
That is really tough. One of the things what I heard that I really absolutely love was, and Ron, forgive me for over talking
Oh,
you
you
or
good, man.
anything
You
of that
good.
nature. I heard you say choosing yourself first. I always tell people like your greatest investment is believing in yourself. And so sometimes I do believe and I do couples therapy and sessions and different things of that nature. And one of the things I always talk about is two individuals becoming one. And a lot of times we forget that aspect of it, but I also talk about that you have to come in whole yourself. Like a lot of times people don't come in whole themselves. They believe I'm 50%, the other person 50%, now we're 100%. And I always tell people you're behind. You're supposed to come in at 100. They're supposed to come in at 100. Now you guys are 200%. And so when you talked about choosing yourself, I want you to go into it a little bit more because I want people to really grasp what that means to choose yourself and why it's so important. I know you talked about it, but I want you to take a deep dive because to me, that is so, so important when you're talking about dating.
Right. Well, I grew up in the South, and in the South, we always taught to be kind, have manners, to treat others well. And that's all accurate. That's all true. But you equally need to teach children and young adults and also realize yourself that it is okay to be kind to others, but you're never a doormat. And being kind to others and respectful and making sure you're accommodating to other people does not mean you overlook your own needs. A lot of times that's what we are taught. We just want to do the right thing. We think being a good person is showing love and compassion, all those good things. And there is nothing wrong with that, but you cannot eliminate doing the same for yourself. And that's one of the things that lead people down the path of choosing others over themselves because they think they're being the hero. They think they're doing the right thing. They think they are especially doing a Christian thing. And I hate to put Christianity in a negative light, but Jesus also turned over some tables. And people don't like to talk about his anger, but he felt every emotion that we have. And part of that was being angry, but not letting the sun go down on our anger. He resolved those. But we teach so much to be kind to other people that we override being kind to ourselves. That's why sometimes it's so hard for people to love themselves the way they love others. You see people who get in a relationship and they treat that other person better than they treat themselves. And I'm just not doing that anymore. Nor am I going to allow somebody else to treat me worse than I deserve to be treated. So part of that is our upbringing, and we have to uproot some of those beliefs that being a good person means making other people happier than you allow yourself to be. So that's one of the main things.
Absolutely. I truly believe it. Thank you for just bringing it in, taking it a little bit deeper. You know what came to my mind as you was talking, and this is a mental leapfrog, commercial break. What do you think about when people or what do you think about dating potential? Like just dating potential, not seeing anything about it. All you can see is the potential in the person.
Well, the problem with that is you are seeing what you perceive as their potential, but that's actually your internal beliefs about what you want. And a lot of times we're dating people and we enjoy being with them because they make us feel a certain way. Well, you can feel that specific way without being with someone else. So instead of looking for what you want in other people, become that yourself because you're looking at this person saying he has a lot of potential, but what you're actually seeing is your internal potential to treat yourself that way and make yourself feel that way. For example, a lot of people say, oh, he could potentially be a great spouse because he dresses nice, he has a sense of humor, you think he has a good character, he works hard. But that doesn't mean that he's going to actually be those things when he's in that role of your husband. So you're looking at what potentially could be instead of asking questions that really delve into what this person really is, how they think, what makes them behave a certain way. You want to know their decision making patterns because that's going to tell you, is this who they are? Or is this just who they are pretending to be? Because if you're looking at who someone is pretending to be so that they can have you, because people will pretend so they can get what they want, you are now dating potential, and potential is a problem. Potential means it's just a mask. So we don't date potential. I don't want to know who you potentially are going to be in a relationship with me 20 years from now. I want to know who you are now, how you are going to continue to grow and improve yourself, how you keep yourself on track. Who are your mentors? That's one of the questions in my book. Who are your mentors? Because if nobody's mentoring you, you think you know it all, then I'm looking at what you can potentially be and not who you really are. Because potential at the end of the day is not going to hold the relationship together because you can go either way. I
Definitely.
want to know which way you plan on going.
Right. That's good. That's good. What's that one question people miss out, or I know you wrote in your books 40 questions before a first date. That one question people really miss out that you would let our audience know that they should really be asking.
Well, my book is written because I'm a believer. So that's perspective is written from. The first thing after you have the first few questions all about you, getting to know you and what you want and making sure you're ready for love and a relationship. But after that, the very first thing you need to ask is what is your relationship with Jesus Christ? And if you're not a Christian, ask what is their religious beliefs? How do they, what do they believe? When they die and leave this earth, where are they going to go? Because the Bible says two cannot walk together and be unequally yoked. And that's going to play out in your life because if I wake up on Sunday morning or during the week, go to Bible study, and Sunday mornings, you're like, no, we're going to do this. And now you're the head of the household. I have to respect you. And those vows say honor and obey. And, you have a role as my husband and what you do and how you treat me. But as your wife, I'm now under your authority and your covering and your protection. And it is my role because I believe in some traditional roles and values. But if you are the head of the household, you are to lead us. So if you're not leading us, if you're not praying, if you're not reading the Bible, then we are unequally yoked. And how can I be living with someone who is basically serving Satan and I'm serving Jesus? We are going to always butt heads. We're going to butt heads because we're going on two different paths. That is the most important. And it is important and key, not only even if you're not a believer, who you choose to spend your life with is actually going to greatly influence how your life turns out. And it is very important to make sure you're on the same page with your religious beliefs. Because even in tithing, that money is usually one of the parts of a relationship where people go astray. They have differences in opinion. One might spend too much, one likes to save. What if, and this is a question in the book, what are your thoughts on tithing? Because some people say absolutely not. We're not giving 10% to anything, not to a charity, not to a church, not to anything. And then there's other people who that is part of their core foundation. They believe in tithing. They believe give unto God. Give him 10, you keep the 90. If he blesses the 90, you give him the 10. And it's about obedience because it's not like God needs anything, but it's about obedience, what goes back to character. So there are certain things that we do and God says, try me, improve me. And in the same aspect, there are certain things that we need to do in relationships to try and prove that person worthy of our time and our life if you're dating for a long-term commitment or marriage.
Okay,
So
okay.
that's a long answer to say, find
Right.
out where they are spiritually.
No, no, no. The thing about it is people need to hear that. So,
Hmm.
in my
Absolutely.
opinion, it's a detailed and in-depth response, and I know it will touch somebody, audience-wise, because I heard some things too that I'm like, "Ooh, that's good. That's deep. Okay, let me put a check mark right there." So,
Yeah.
one of the things that I also look at too is that, you gave it from, a biblical perspective. What is your thoughts on what has social media done, or how have it benefited or corrupted how we interact with each other as far as dating is concerned, relationships?
Other thing I want to add to the answer I said before about spirituality, I want to make sure everybody understands that we are all spiritual beings. We have a body, we have a mind, we have a spirit. And when you become one with someone, you're truly becoming one physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And so that's another reason that not only that question about where your faith lies is important, but everything else is important because of that, because you are becoming one with someone. And to answer your question about social media, I will say that social media has its good and its bad, like everything else. Too much of it
Hmm.
can be destructive. It has allowed us to come together and connect with people, but that connection does not necessarily mean that we have the intimacy we need to build relationships. For example, if I'm on the internet scrolling, I might stop through, see some pages of somebody I know and be like, oh, I like that. Maybe put an emoji in the comments and then keep scrolling. Well, that's not building relationships. That's not communication. That's just what social media is meant to do. Have you see something visually, like it, and stay on the platform. To really continue with the connections that we often miss because of social media, you need to say, hey, let me pick up the phone, call this person, and continue to talk and develop those social skills and interaction with them because social media can be a falsehood in the sense that you see something that looks good. We see people's highlight reels, but how many people do we know post on social media every day and then go commit suicide? But when you see their social media posts, everything looks fine. And what social media has done to relationships is make you think that everything is fine because I just saw such and such on his or her social media posts and they were so happy. They were doing this, they were traveling, they were in their car. And then you find out this person is depressed. Social media allows us to hide behind pictures, but when you pick up the phone and talk to people, have those conversations, now you're building relationships and you're meeting the needs of people because we are social creatures and we are meant to interact with each other. And in social media, you're only interacting with your phone. You're interacting with your computer. You're not touching and feeling that person. Like if I'm sitting next to you, talking to you, and you say something that, oh, I'm really having a rough time today, I can reach out and hug you. But in social media, it's like, sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Got a question. So we hear a lot of people say now
Mhm.
they date many people just to, figure out or they're finding out. Someone comes to you and say they date male or female, right? Do you recommend that or you say is that fine or do you come from scripture or how do you handle a situation like that when someone brings that to your attention?
So I'm gonna tell you, I actually told my daughter who's in her 20s, I said to her, date multiple people. That does not mean you're sleeping with multiple people. That means you're getting to know different personalities. You're getting to find out what you like most. Because if you're only dating one person, then what are you comparing that to, especially if you are young? Now, I'm 50. So at my age, I've already been there, done that. I'm not trying to date multiple people. I already know what I want and I already know what I'm not going to put up with. And it does not take me long to kind of weed people out because I already know I'm not going to deal with that. Like, for example, and this is a true story. I met this gentleman, we exchanged numbers, and he called me really late one night. And I said, I have to get up, go to work tomorrow. So I really don't talk on the phone after like 10:30, 11 o'clock because I'm winding my day down. I need my quiet time and I don't want my phone ringing. He did it again. You know what my response was? Block. Because you are a grown man. I do not need to, I should not have had to explain. It was disrespectful to me to call me that time of night. And then you're going to do it again. And 11 o'clock is not too late, I know, but it was a call after midnight. And that's what got blocked because I'm like, if I've already said this is my boundary and you've already proven you do not care what my boundaries are, I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you. So
Absolutely.
date multiple people, get out there to see what you like, see what you don't like. If you're at a older stage in life or you're more wise, I don't like to say older, if you're a more wiser, seasoned saint,
Right.
then you don't have time for that. You already know what you want and you understand what you want enough so when you see it, you feel it, you're being treated a certain way, then you got it.
So I have a question for you. So you have 40 questions and you want to be able to ask questions. How do you create a safe space in order to have open dialogue with the person that is a potential?
Well, the questions get progressively more intriguing and dig deeper into that person's past. And I say in the book, if you get to a certain point and you realize this is not going any further, there's no need to ask those more personal questions. You stop right there. You don't go any further. But in creating a safe space, you let that person know, hey, I really want to get to know you. I don't have time to waste. I don't like wasting my time. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm asking you to respect me enough not to waste mine. If at any point you feel that our personalities don't mesh or you've made the decision we can be better as friends, then I'm not going to go forward with having certain conversations that I want to know of my romantic partner. But let me make it clear that right now I am interested in getting to know you and hopefully building a friendship, and if we can build that foundation, we can move forward to something else. So I'm going to just be honest with you and make this a safe space. You can ask me anything you'd like to ask me. And if there's any question that I ask you, you aren't ready to answer, you don't feel comfortable answering right now, or you feel that's just none of my business, you have the ability to say that, and I'm going to hear you. I'm going to respect you. I'm not going to push you beyond what you're comfortable with talking about. So hopefully, by saying these things to that person, you can create a safe space, letting them know this is a confidential conversation. And rather not we end up falling in love, what we discuss is between you and me.
Okay.
That's how.
When people bring baggage or they're still hurting into a relationship, right? And they carry that into dating. I think you alluded to it earlier, as far as self-reflection, loving yourself. I was thinking about Whitney Houston, the greatest love of all. Then at the end, she said, the great loving yourself, be the greatest love. We all know, but love of Jesus Christ is the greatest love of all. But in the context of Whitney Houston,
Yes,
that the greatest love.
the greatest.
When people bring that extra baggage, how do they heal before they go into the next relationship? Or say that I need to deal with this for myself before I can entertain anyone else.
Well, I tell you, every person has gone through something in life where it has changed who they are. You can't go through something and not feel like it is going to affect you. If you cut yourself, get a scar on your hand, that scar is going to remain. It may heal, but you may still look down sometimes and see that there was once a scar there. You might be able to run your fingers across it and feel it. And it's the same thing with the hurt that we go through in relationships. There may be something that triggers it. I know some people don't date people with the same name of someone in their past. I might or might not be one of those people, but you have to realize this is someone different, someone new. They are not the person that hurt me. And if you feel that relationship is worth building, you're going to have to come to the realization, say, hey, I'm reacting right now based on my past experience, and there's nothing that this person has done to me that deserves me to feel this way. We often filter our responses through our experiences. And that's a good thing and a bad thing if it's making a negative impact and hindering us from really truly being vulnerable with the person who may very well be the right person for us at this stage in our lives. So the pain from our past can protect us because it helps us not to make the same mistakes. If I see some areas where someone they are possessive or controlling, I can spot that. I know this is going towards something that could be abusive, and I'm going to back away. So that pain can protect us, and that's one reason we sometimes keep those scars, but we're not dwelling on it. We just know that it's there, and we use that to better guide our decisions and better think about how that person is reacting to certain situations. I always look at somebody, how do they treat the waitress or waiter in a restaurant? Are they just rude to them? Are they just, dismissing that person because of their position? And so when you look at all those things, then you kind of have the ability to make a better choice on who's right for you. And then you also have a better ground to make decisions on how you're responding to things and just navigate whether you're responding to it fairly or is this based on my experience with someone else, because we won't always be healed from everything, and even if you're healed, there's still a memory, something might trigger that. Just realize that you're dealing with someone different and navigate through your own emotions before you react.
That's good. I definitely respect that. As you were talking, something else come up. I told you I do mental leapfrogs all day long. What do you think about I call it the imposter.
Mhm.
Someone you're potentially dating and they're not being their true self.
Mhm.
How do you navigate through that when you hear their words, but their action doesn't back it? And you like, this is an imposter. This is not who they really are. How do you navigate, that challenge when you're trying to be respectful, but also want to set a healthy boundary?
So, not everybody will do this, but when I meet someone new and he asks me out, first thing I'm going to say is, listen, the next few weeks are really busy for me, but I'd love to talk to you on the phone. And then when my calendar opens up, maybe we can go out in person. That's always intentional because during those 3 to 4 weeks that I'm just talking on the phone, a couple of things are going to happen. One, he wanted to go out. I basically said no, so he's not going to even call. And if he does call, we can have one conversation and he's going to realize, oh, she's serious. She's not going to just go out and waste her time. She really wants to have conversation and get to know me. That's going to weed him out. Two, if he keeps calling and I keep calling him and we're having conversations, we may even start talking every day. Conversations, not text messages, but phone conversations where you can hear the inflection in their voice. You can hear how they react to certain questions. And really, people say that you can put on a front for at least 90 days. Well, if we start doing those first couple weeks, really having in depth conversations, I don't care what your favorite color is. Let me know how you're going to react in certain situations. Let me know what was it that you learned from your last relationship. Tell me what is it about you that you feel you need to work on before you settle down with your next spouse. Tell me those things. Let's have those kind of conversations. If there's an imposter there, he's going to back off. He's not going to want to answer those questions. And then have follow up questions to those answers because I'm not trying to integrate anybody. We're just having conversation. I make it light, I make it fun, but at the same time, I'm listening to his response. And when you learn to listen, then you learn to figure out, okay, is all of this lining up? Because you could ask the same question in two, three different ways and get three different answers. So now, which person told the truth? Which one of you is answering the real you? So I think that by having these conversations on the phone, that also takes away the pressure of, for the guys, paying for dates, for the women, feeling like, okay, he's taking me out. I know he's going to want to kiss or something like that. It takes away the pressure. It's just two people having conversation. You're in the safety of your home. He's in his safety of his home. And you can really talk and get to know each other. And not many people can keep up the act when you're truly having those deep conversations.
Makes sense.
That makes sense. That's really good.
Do you find out all the red flags, I guess, early on, or do you have specific questions that should be asked to identify those red flags?
People like to talk about themselves. And so you let them talk. You just open the door and let them talk. And there's times where people say, well, what do you think about that? Because they're trying to get your opinion, your wants, and then they morph into what they know you like. And so I will just avoid some questions intentionally because I'm more concerned about you. More concerned about, do you fit into my plans, my life, and what I want out of the character of a person? And if you're not asking me questions, then I'm gonna either say, okay, either he doesn't want to know, or maybe he just doesn't talk like that. Maybe he's just not open like that. But if you're giving me all the answers and letting me get to know who you truly are, then I'm okay with also opening up, but I'm not going to do it too soon because I already know that people will become what you want. And this is for the ladies. We all know not to bash any men watching, or especially you two gentlemen on here, but we all know at a certain time and stage in a person's life, they will do anything to get what they want.
That's valid.
Yeah,
I don't care what stage you're in. It just depends on the person.
yeah,
I
right.
absolutely agree with you. I want to go back to something, right?
Mhm,
Because you just kind of brushed over and you did it so dainty and so elegant and with such grace. But I think people miss the game.
mhm, mhm.
Somebody asked you out. How do you address that again? That was so clever and so genius and so graceful. How do you address deterring or deferring the actual date for a little bit because you want to get to know them? Just talk about that just a little bit again. You don't have to go in full detail. Just drop the game because you said something and I was like, oh man, she got to rewind that back.
Well, it's in the book too. So if someone approaches me, someone I've never met before, and they introduce themselves, hey, can I get your number? Yes, we exchange numbers. Usually I give them my Google number, not my personal cell number. And then I say, well, listen, my calendar is really full for the next few weeks, but I like to still get to know you. Can we just talk on the phone? And maybe when my calendar opens up, we can schedule that date. So that lets him know I'm interested in getting to know you. So we're going to have to talk. You can't buy me anything. You're not taking me out. You got to call me. You got to have conversations with me. And that way I'm getting to know you. And then I decide if I want to go out with him. And honestly, every one of us, men and women, should be living a full life so that that's truthful, that I'm busy and I'm not going to change my plans because you want to take me out on a date. can go to coffee anytime. And I don't go to movies on first dates because you're sitting there in the dark watching a screen. If I'm watching a movie, I'm gonna lay in my bed, watch it until I fall asleep at home. I don't go out to movies with people. I would rather do something that I get to know you. So when we get to that stage a few weeks later, usually at minimum 30 days. And there's been people that I've talked to 90 days before we actually go out. Because then I know you're serious. Because after 90 days, most guys are going to either give up, say, this takes too much effort, or there's a million other women out here who will go out with me tomorrow night. They just want somebody to keep them company. So go on. That's not for me. I don't mind weeding people out like that. I take my time to get to know you
Good.
because if we don't have a friendship, when things get rough, one of us is going to say, peace out.
Love the fact that you're prioritizing your well-being and you're making it intentional. I just wanted people to hear it again because I just thought it was so graceful. And I also thought it was something that people needed to hear because I also understand that sometimes there be those red flags or these question marks and people just don't know how to address them. So that's why I wanted you to repeat that. I love it. I even love the fact that you Google number. I love every aspect of it. So uh, definitely recommend it. That's why I wanted to be
Yeah.
intentional.
I
Yeah.
can see the season side, right? It's the season versus the millennial side, right? It's like,
Yeah,
I'm getting you
yeah.
put this on
And one of the
Facebook.
things, yeah, and that's why I say I love that aspect. Man, you talk see, I say season. I always tell people I say I'm seasoned like fries. You know, hey, I don't know if it's Bojangles or is it Applebee's fries or the Ruth Chris fries? I don't know. I'm just seasoned, right? So
Mhm.
that side. One of the things I also share with people too is that sometimes when we don't address the red flags, then you end up waving the white flag.
Mhm.
But if you address the red flag can turn into a yellow flag, which can turn into a green flag if it's intentional, it's purposeful, and then you see change behavior. And a lot of times people don't address those things because they're so busy trying to keep the peace and have no peace. But I always tell people, please address those red flags. Those red flags don't go away. They will just continue to eat at you until you actually end up waving the white flag because you never addressed it. So I love everything that you're saying. And man, this is really good. You've been dropping some nuggets and I hope people
Yeah.
paying attention. Yeah, I bet paying attention. These are good.
Yes, but still be careful with those red flags, even if you address them, depending upon what it is. Because if someone has done something a certain way the majority of their life, do not expect them to change because you walked into their life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why the caveat was change behavior because
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, I'll be playing games and I'll be like, these red flags are real.
Mhm.
They're
Right.
there for a reason. So absolutely. My bad, Ron. My
Oh, no, no,
bad.
no. You're good. You're good. No. Should someone pick the other person up, you believe, on the first date, or should they meet at a
They
location?
should meet. And here's the thing. I'm in Atlanta. I am not trusting anybody to know where I live.
I think that's
No,
everywhere, right? Right. That's everywhere.
no.
Completely understand that one.
Yeah.
So what is an ideal first date?
Well, let me say with someone who, let's say they want to take me out, and I say, well, I'll just meet you there. Well, then a lot of times some guys will say, well, let me just send an Uber to you. Okay, that's the same thing. You got to know my address. But a smart man will say, I'm sending you a Uber gift card. Okay. Because he really wants to take me out and he doesn't want me driving myself to a date. I respect him for that. So that would be one. It's how before we even see each other face to face, let me see what you do. Okay. And then he may ask me, okay, what do you like to eat? What do you like to do? And I will say, well, here's three of my favorite restaurants. Or just here's three restaurants, even if they're not my favorite. And I would give him a price range, something not so expensive and something that's, a steakhouse. So he can choose. And I'll let him know I'm okay with either one of them because these are all my favorites. Okay. And then I would say, let's do whatever you want to do. And he should respond with either asking me some questions to try to figure out, okay, are you an outdoorsy person? Do you like horseback riding? You want to go bowling? Just things like that. Or from the conversations we've had, I would be even more impressed if he didn't ask me that question, but he picked up something in one of our conversations that he knows I like. And then we go to whatever he is planned. So for me, I won't say my ideal date is something I've planned out, but something that he's taken the time to show that he listened to what I said and he cared enough to try to make me happy by doing something he knew I would enjoy.
Now we've had this question come up before, and
Mhm.
this is just personal. How much should the brother spend? Like, 'cause we had that like some people like I gotta, throw 400, 500 at this, or we've heard some people say, hey, simple, modest, enjoy the conversation, coffee, ice cream, first impression, people want to put the good foot forward. What should that look like?
It's not about the money. And honestly, when I see that a guy equates to the amount of money he spends with how valuable he is in my life, it's a turn off. I took myself on a date once and I went to a farm where you could pick flowers and it was literally like $5. I had fun. I was by myself, but if a guy said, "Hey, let's go pick some flowers," I'm all in. So it does not have to be he spent $500. Now, if we go someplace and he takes me to a really fine dining restaurant or something adventurous, like I hate to say skydiving because I'm not going to go skydiving, but let's just say I was that adventurous and he knew I wanted to do that. Okay. Well, one thing I do want to do is a hot air balloon ride. So let's say he knew that's something on my bucket list and we did that. So he spent, a couple $100s for each person. I'm not gonna be as impressed by the amount of money as I am by the thoughtfulness. So for him to spend 2, 3, $400 or $5 and we go pick flowers, equally impressed by both of those.
Can we go on Groupon's and get that hot air balloon for like, I don't know what it is. I'm just kidding, whatever.
I'm a Groupon
You're
person.
right.
You don't have to tell me. Unless you're somebody who said to me, "Hey, you know what? I'm on a budget right now. So, I don't want you to be concerned that I overspent outside of my budget," you know? And then he shares it was a Groupon. Okay. Now I know you're considerate. You still want to do things with me, and money's not going to be a hindrance to spending time together doing something fun. But you're still adhering to your goals.
I love the Groupon. And you put me on game. I didn't even know that Uber had gift cards.
To me either.
Yeah, you can get Lyft gift cards, you can get Uber gift cards. So next time you're meeting someone for the first time, do that. That way you aren't getting there. That way that woman doesn't think you're trying to be sleek and get her address.
Yeah, hey, I
Good.
didn't know
Never
nothing
thought
about
about
that. You
that.
put me on game with that one. I didn't know nothing about that. That's a real cool one too.
I guess would you get a gas card so she could drive her own car to the date? Or
Here's the thing. I went out with someone before and this individual did not live in the same state. So he actually came to visit me and I drove us to the date. And I'm gonna be honest, as a woman, that kind of was a turnoff because I felt like I'm driving us to the date. I'm taking you out. So if you get a gas card, that's thoughtful. And it just depends on her. She may not be the type of person like someone in an Uber or Lyft picking up or Waymo, driverless car. So it just depends on her. And you'd have to find that out.
So I got a question.
Hmm.
Is it okay for a female to pay on the first date?
Oh, no. No. If we have been together a while and I volunteer, I want to surprise you. Then that's one thing. But if you are asking me to pay or you're expecting me to pay, no.
Got it. Got it.
I want you to be a man. I want you to take care of me. Allow me to be a woman.
Mm,
Because if I have to take charge, I do that now as a single woman. I pay for my own gas. I pump my own gas. Shout out to the times that I'm at the gas station and some gentleman comes over and pumps my gas. I really appreciate that, especially when he just does it out of the kindness of his heart, doesn't ask for a number or anything. I love that, and there are gentlemen who do that. I've had that happen to me several times. But let me just be your woman, and you having me do certain things defines what you think a woman is.
Gotcha, gotcha. So you want to be on that pinnacle. I'm a queen. I want to be spoiled, rotten, all of those good things, and tap into your feminine energy.
Right, but in exchange, I treat you like the king you are.
Boom. Long as it. Nah, it's not. My thing is, I'm just joking. It's not conditional. I understand it's unconditional, but I do understand what you're saying in regards to just making sure that you have an expectation and a standard.
Yes.
So we talk about expectation and standard. Is it ever okay to lower your standard or
No,
expectation?
no, it's not. If let's talk, I'm going to talk about me. Let's say I meet someone and he says, Rhonda, I noticed that you do this, and I believe you would be such a better person if you just tweak that behavior or that attitude. He just tried his best to make me better. So instead of him lowering his expectations of me, he's helping me to be better, to grow, to go come up higher. So it is never okay to lower your expectations. If you're with someone that you love, you can help them be better.
I just wanted to put that out there because I know that was a question that was on a lot of people's mind on the previous little podcast
Mhm.
section. So thank you for clarifying, and
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
definitely,
leave it there. Thank you for clarifying.
I
definitely.
have to go back and watch the previous one now.
When you get people who are, oh, I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead, you got
No,
it.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, when you get people who are kind of scared to ask those tough questions, what are some strategies you think they should implement?
Okay, I want to know, and as if I'm speaking that person, obviously, I want to know, do you want us to work out? If the answer is yes, let's continue to have the conversations where we really get to know each other. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know why you behave a certain way. Was there something that was triggered when I did this? Let's talk about it. Let's just have those conversations one on one so that we really understand each other and delve into what matters most to you. I'm going to share what matters most to me.
That's good. That's good.
Real
That's
good.
good. So you've graced us with your presence. You gave us a lot of good nuggets, a lot of good gems, everything for our audience. Out of all of the things that they heard, your books, your presentation, who you are, what do you really want them to know about Miss Rhonda Green and her purpose and her intentions?
I want them to all know to love themselves. I want them to know that when they look at me, they see someone who went through so much in life, from an abusive relationship, from failures in other relationships that weren't abusive, from being engaged, not being engaged, from leaving certain situations and people behind in order to get to where I am today. And when I say where I am, I'm talking about who I am internally. I'm talking about where I am mentally. I'm talking about where I am physically, how I treat myself, how I love on myself. And that's what I want you to get to, the place where you love you more than anybody else.
This is good. Ms. Rhonda, tell everybody how they can get in contact with you and how they can purchase your books.
Sure, you can follow me on social media. I am on Instagram, I am on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, and all my handles are author Rhonda Green. You can also visit my website, which is www.rhondagreen.com. My name is spelled Rhondagreen. So feel free to reach out. I love to talk to people and find out what they thought when they read the books. Yeah, hopefully I gave you some information that will help you on your dating journey.
So, Ms. Rhonda, I just want to say thank you for sharing all of your insight, powerful insight, great body of work, beautiful, graceful in tone and in presentation. And, this has just been an enjoyable space, just sharing it with you. And once again, I just want to thank you for you just being here and all the nuggets and all the gems that you shared. And much success on your continued journey. And we will do this again because I'm quite sure they're going to have some comments and they're going to hear and see some more things, and we're going to bring you right back. You're always welcome here anytime to share more. So thank you again for just being so gracious and sharing your time with us today.
And thank you both. I appreciate you. And kudos to everything you are doing because the conversations that you're having and allowing people to listen in on, these are awesome. Keep up the good work. And I hope that everything you do is seen by millions.
Thank you. Thank you. If I could ask you one, if I could add one to your 40 questions,
Sure. What is it?
I want to know what they're going to bring to the family cookout.
There's a question in the book that says, can you cook?
Well, ask them what they bring it to the family cookout. Because after they get past you and you love them and everything else,
Yeah.
next judgment is the family. So, what are you going to bring to the family cookout? That's going to be. What are you going to do to impress the family at this point?
I'm
Right?
going to bring some macaroni and cheese.
You bringing mac and cheese? Oh,
Yes.
She can cook.
you
You
stay
got
by
the
your
you
mac
got
and
the
cheese.
brown
Now,
stuff.
I can cook certain meals, so I know what to do. I know how to stay in my lane, but macaroni and cheese, I definitely have a great recipe for it.
Hey, I'm gonna leave it there, you guys. Once again, Miss Rhonda Green, check her out on all of her websites. I mean, on her website and all of her social handles. You got it, Miss Rhonda Green. Thank you again for just being.
Thank you guys. Been a pleasure.